Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for having me. Stav, you told me to do it in English, so I'll do it in English, although I think most of the people here understands Hebrew, but I prepared myself in English, so I'll continue with that. Thank you for having me. I'm Nir Sherwinter, Director of Solution Engineering for CyberArk. I'm managing a team of solution engineers in EMEA East, including Russia and Ukraine and other countries, and you can imagine the issues that we have now in our region. What I'm going to talk about today is identity security and basically why innovation is so important in the identity security field. I was attending the sessions today, and a lot of people talked about the cloud and about innovation and about preparing for the next type of attacks and new types of hackers that are attacking different types of new platforms. In my presentation, I'm going to focus on innovation, but also the innovation of the business side of things and how we as a vendor should cope with this kind of innovation and what kind of solutions we are creating to support innovation on the business side of things. So the phrase, which is the title of my presentation, is "Innovate or Die." Obviously, I didn't invented it. It was said by Professor Drucker. Professor Drucker, Peter Drucker, is a well-known professor in the field of management, of business. He was a professor at Harvard University and New York University. And basically, he was regarded as the man who invented management. And here you can see on my slide a few of his famous quotes. If you want something new, you have to stop doing something old. And also the best way to predict your future is to create it. And of course, the title of my presentation is Innovate or Die. And as I said earlier, in all these sessions today, we talked about the cloud and the new challenges that the cloud basically creates for the field of cybersecurity, which is about innovation, yes, but I want to add another aspect. In my 20 minutes, I'm going to cover these 4 different topics. Privileged account security, why should I care? I guess that most of you know what identity security is, but for the sake of the people who don't, I will just spend 1-2 minutes explaining what it is and why it's so important. Then I will explain what identity security means, like the definition of it. What does it mean to have proper identity security? Then I'll talk about CyberArk solutions, what we are doing today, and then a bit about innovation and how basically our old solutions, 20 years old solutions, are now changed and adapted to the changing world. So what is privileged account security? And basically, why should we care about it? There are mainly 5 reasons why you should care about identity security. First of all, as you can see in many of the attacks, privileges or credentials are #1 critical attack vector. This is what hackers want to get. They want to get credentials in order to do other things. The second thing is with credentials, with proper credentials or privileged credentials, you can get to the domain controllers. It's a highway to the domain controllers. The third reason is that you have a lot of different security systems. You have firewalls, you have endpoint protection mechanisms, you have all different kinds of systems. All of them can be just opened or closed or disabled using privileged users. So basically, as you can see on my slide, you don't need to crack the gate if you can just get the keys. Insider threats, this is the 4th one. Insider threats means that someone that is already in your network, someone that already has a user in your network, you need also to defend from insider users as well. And of course, the 5th one, which all of you are familiar with, and I heard some people talking about it earlier today. When you've been hacked, the first thing that people are doing is basically disabling users, changing passwords, changing the users. So if this is the first step you do to secure your enterprise once you've been hacked, why not taking care of it from the first place? The landscape, the threat landscape, again, it's been talked about today many times, is evolving. You can see new types of ransomware, growth in attacks, many types of attacks, state-sponsored like the Hafnium one, the Chinese group, zero-day attacks, again, the Hafnium, supply chain like SolarWinds, all different kinds of attacks that evolving and growing, but almost all of them had a step where they got higher privileges. So cyber attacks, core element is getting the privileges. Now, this is a slide by IDSA, which is an international organization. And they basically saying, the national organization supporting identity security. So this is what they promote. They basically saying that securing only endpoints, firewalls, and networks provides little protection against identity and credential-based threats. And I'm jumping to the 2 lines in the end. This never trust, always verify, enforce this privilege approach provides the greatest security for organizations. So it's not that identity security is another element in your security strategy. It's a core element. It's a must element. And as I said earlier, I'm almost sure that most of the audience here are already familiar with this. So when we say identity security, what exactly do we mean? We have different kinds of identities in each and every organization. We have admins, we have DevOps engineers, we have non-human ones like apps, like robots. We have third-party vendors. We have vendors that basically remotely connecting to your environment to update, to fix, to support. And we have the workforce. We have your normal users, the finance team, the HR team, any other team in the organization. All these users connecting to, or basically accessing different environments. So they're accessing hybrid clouds environment like network devices, databases. They're accessing a lot of SaaS environments. Someone talked about it earlier today about the changing environment since COVID, where people are using Zoom and using all these kind of SaaS solutions because they work from home. So this is something that you are all familiar with. Cloud, I don't need to explain more about that. So basically, or the bottom line is that people are accessing all different kinds of places from all different kinds of sources. Technologies change, so also the attacks or the attack path changes. We can talk about 3 different types of attack or risk families. And what are the different types of families when talking about identities? The first one, credential theft, the easiest one to explain. Phishing attacks, social engineering, any way that someone gets credentials that he shouldn't get. This is the first family. The second family, lateral and vertical movement, risk family, that means that someone is already in your network and is trying to move to different systems that he shouldn't. And the third one is basically privilege escalation and abuse. So someone is in the network, moved inside the network to different systems, and now he's abusing data, deleting data, getting data, shutting down systems, whatever. Which means that when we talk about identity security, it's not only preventing credential theft, it's about preventing credential theft, of course, but also stopping lateral movement and vertical movement when it happens. So once someone is in the system, be able to stop him and to identify that someone is actually moving. And of course, if someone already got access to sensitive systems, limiting the privileges that he can actually cause harm with. So the life cycle of identity security is basically, as you can see on my slide, I'll try to use my pointer, authenticate and verify that each and every user and their devices are basically the ones that they claim they be. Authorize just in time, just enough privileges. Least privileges is a basic concept. Again, I don't think I need to explain more about that. Then when providing access, secure and monitor all the accesses to these different systems, and in the end, be able to audit and record all what's happening once the user accessing the system is allowed to access, to see that he's not violating any of the restrictions. The bottom line is identity is the new security battleground. What do we do in CyberArk in order to help organizations across the world to basically overcome these challenges? So CyberArk introduced a new solution. It's called CyberArk Identity Security Platform. Like everyone else, we are moving to the cloud. We moved to the cloud a couple of years ago, and now we are continuously developing and supporting this solution. We are basically providing all the solutions that we have today, which are about identity security, privilege access management, endpoint management, and more on the cloud using a platform. This is what you can see on my screen now. And what is this platform? This platform basically provides all different kinds of mechanisms to support these solutions, MFA, SSO, lifecycle management for identity. These are all straightforward solutions, but we are also providing cloud privilege management. So if you are familiar with CyberArk solutions, so the privilege access management solutions that we used to have on-prem, we currently have it on the cloud. And I'll show you in few slides how we innovate and how we took this solution on the cloud and created even more secure solution supporting businesses today. Endpoint identity security management, and basically also the secrets manager for developers, for DevOps. I know it was mentioned earlier today by some other presenters, so we are also securing secrets for cloud development. To summarize, what is our mission? We are providing a modern approach to identity security anchored on privilege to protect against advanced cyber threats, supporting the evolving business environments. Why innovation? So this is CyberArk life cycle, let's call it this way. So we started early 2000 and we had a lot of on-prem solutions. I will not go over each step, but you can easily understand the idea. We created more and more solutions to support more and more business needs. And in one point in time, we moved to the cloud. Now we are in the cloud and we again try to provide everything that we can using the cloud, because this is how organizations today consume these kind of solutions. A few examples from what we are developing now. We are developing a new and enhanced user interfaces for all our identity and authentication and authorization solutions. So basically web apps, Apple Watch apps to provide SSO and MFA and even authorization and authentication to the cloud, as you can see on my screen, to AWS, Google, Microsoft Azure, and more. This is one of the most, I think, impressive things we introduced in the cloud, the dynamic privilege access. So just in 1 minute, so far in the on-prem world, we used to have the privilege access manager. So for those of you that are familiar and for those of you that are not familiar, just in high level, we have a system that manages the privileged users, rotating passwords, creating secured communication between the user and the target system. But we have the users basically stored in our system. What we created now on the cloud is a dynamic way to manage it, which basically creates the user and removes the user after the action was taken. So let's say we have a privileged user in a bank that can authorize high amount of transaction money. This user can be accessing and performing his action, but after the action was completed, this user will be removed. So we basically call it ephemeral access, one-time temporary access. This was introduced in our privilege cloud. The other thing that we introduced, again, I think it's very impressive, and it's also related to the changing world of today. So today, a lot of institutions are using the cloud. As a result, a lot of systems move to become web apps. HR systems like SuccessFactors and financial systems, Deal Hub for managing marketing and sales, Salesforce, of course, and all different kinds of systems. Now, all these systems, in many, many cases, hold sensitive data, and also users that can access these systems can perform sensitive actions. Even simple things like the company LinkedIn account or Twitter account. You don't want anyone to access the company's Twitter account and post something stupid on behalf of the company, or even LinkedIn. Obviously, systems like financial systems where you approve financial transactions. I don't think I need to explain about that as well. In addition, things that are not intentional. For example, if we are talking about healthcare providers, so you have a lot of web apps. Let's say someone just left the screen open in a corridor in a hospital and is not standing next to the screen anymore. The system can identify that there's no one next to the system and disconnect it. So basically, the secure web session solution by CyberArk provides security for web apps, recording the screen. What you can see here on my screen on the right side is basically screen captures and recorded sessions. These are indexed and they can be used later on for audit purposes. So you can see who did what, when, and where. Just about CyberArk, for those of you that are not familiar with CyberArk, we are quite big. We have more than 2,000 employees around the world. About 700 of them are here in Israel. We have more than 7,000 customers worldwide. 50% of Fortune 500 are using our system, including big organizations here in Israel. We regard #1 in the Privilege Access Management Magic Quadrant by Gartner. As you can see, we are the leaders here. We are not the leaders in all aspects of identity security, but in Privilege Access Management, we are #1. Just to, I have only 2 more slides. This one is about summarizing the business value of what we are trying to deliver. So basically, to secure and defend against attacks. So we need to have a robust systems that allows just-in-time access, least privileges. It was mentioned earlier today by someone, application control. So we also cover this aspect of security, so application control on the endpoint and local machines. We would like to simplify processes. We don't want to cause any change management or changes to be done to how an organization works today. So an organization work in a specific way, create new solutions. We want to help them continue to work in the same way they worked by adding more security without asking them to change how they work. We enable the digital business. As I mentioned earlier, we are moving to the cloud. More and more institutions today are moving to the cloud or already in the cloud, and we are there as well. And of course, satisfying audit and compliance, again, was mentioned a few times today. We are also covering this aspect of identity security. So anyone that needs to do some audit or compliance tests, we are providing the solutions here. So to summarize, back to my opening slide, innovate or die. So if I'm talking about the business world, this is what you see, right? You have a market, then you identify opportunities. If you're a startup, if you're a mature company, it doesn't matter. You identify opportunities, you analyze, you innovate, and then you create new solutions. You check the solutions in the market, and then you try to create new solutions, continue to sell the existing ones, doesn't matter. This is the cycle in the business world. In the cybersecurity world, similar life cycle. You have all different kinds of threats. You identify these threats, you analyze these threats, you innovate and create solutions and create defenses against these threats. With CyberArk, we are trying to create defenses that will basically support solutions, again, that evolve and innovate. Thank you.